Kyoto's a lot like a mine. Keep digging past the silver and gold and you'll get to the deeper layers of rubies, emeralds and diamonds, just begging to be found, just like Eikando. Tucked away in the northeast of the city, it's one magnificent gem of a temple sitting on the side of the mountain. Even though it's only a few minutes strenuous walk from Nanzenji or the Path of Philosophy, fewer people visit here, and I love coming here because it's so peaceful and has the traditional Kyoto atmosphere. One unique feature is how you need to traverse between buildings via covered wooden staircases in your socks, which for me at least is part of the fun, even in the winter. Up in the higher reaches of the complex is another unusual thing, the Tahoto Pagoda, which has 2 tiers to it, unlike the taller ones at Toji or in Nara that have 5. When you pass through the temple buildings, you'll want to take your time to absorb the exquisite gardens hidden inside. The Hojo Pond, complete with its little island and bridge, is also worth a long linger, as it's surrounded by maple trees and looks utterly stunning in the fall. But the main reason why you should definitely come to Eikando is down this path which leads off from the main area. You'll need to head up a few staircases, but it's totally worth it for the reward of a wonderful panorama of the city. Up here you really get a sense of how Kyoto is completely surrounded on all sides by mountains, and you might be able to pick out our next spot, which is Nanzenji Tenjuen. Don't get confused here, I'm not talking about the main Nanzenji with the famous Zen garden, so finish up recreating that scene from Lost in Translation underneath the enormous Sanmon Gate, and then cross the road to this smaller sub-temple. When you head inside Tenjuen, you'll be immediately struck by another impeccably kept rock garden, which looks at its best during the autumn leaves season. What I particularly love about this spot is how you can perch on the side of the building to breathe in the scene. I was here mid-morning and I just couldn't believe how it didn't feel crowded at all, and you can easily spend a good 20 to 30 minutes just admiring the view. Although Tenjuen is right on the doorstep of one of Kyoto's most visited attractions, I'd say 9 out of 10 tourists who give it a pass also miss out on an incredible smorgasbord of all that's best in Kyoto just a few steps down the stone pathway. You've got luscious moss draped all over, a tiny bamboo grove, carp in the pond, and some of the most photogenic spots you'll see in the city. This makes Tenjuen one unmissable secret garden hidden in plain sight. It's on your way back to the city centre, so make sure you give it a go. Now it's easy to miss my next pick because most visitors get around the city by bus, subway, or perhaps the Hankyu or Keihan lines. And I think that's a crying shame because taking a ride on the Keifuku Electric Railroad is not only a brilliant way of getting to Arashiyama without going back to Kyoto Station, it also gives you an up-close glimpse into the life of locals, with lines running right next to people's houses. But this tram will also take you back in time. Known locally as the Randen, this is the last surviving part of Kyoto's tram network, which has long since disappeared in other parts of the city. In case you're wondering, the Ran is taken from the first character for Arashiyama, and the Den the first character for train. The Randen line starts off a little west of the city centre in Shijo Omiya and winds its way through the residential outskirts of the city, including some sections running alongside cars in the middle of the road. It's an incredibly relaxing alternative route up to Arashiyama and also allows good access to other famous spots like Ryoanji and other more remote temples. But I think the old-fashioned charm of these trams alone makes riding the Randen a delightful experience that more visitors really need to try. And once your tram has arrived in Arashiyama, you won't want to leave immediately because of the next spot. Tucked over on one side of the station is the magnificent art installation known as Kimono Forest. Around 600 clear cylinders are filled with kimono fabric across 32 different traditional Kyoto designs, a style that dates back around 400 years. These decorated poles are clustered to resemble a forest along a winding path that leads to the Dragon Pond, where you can throw in coins for good luck. The Kimono forest artwork was designed by Osaka-born artist Morita Yasumichi, with the fabric supplied by Kyoto Yuzenkyo specialist Kamidatomi. It's a brilliant mix of traditional culture and modern art and looks spectacular both during the day and at night. And as entry is free, it really would be hard to pass up a visit here. Now that we're up in Arashiyama, it's time to leave behind the eternally crowded main street in front of the station and head up north. For this one, you might want to rent a bicycle or hop in a cab because hula hoops and hiccups, it's a 30-minute walk. But for every one of those minutes, you'll leave behind 100 other tourists. But before long, you'll reach this very inviting flight of stone steps just crying out to be climbed. And if you do, you'll find the mysterious Arashiyama Nembutsuji temple. Long ago in the Heian period, dead bodies were left here exposed to the elements. Eventually though, bodies started being buried instead, and then sometime back in the 9th century, one of the monks here started setting down stones for souls of the recently deceased who didn't have any next of kin. And after all that time, we're now left with around 8,000 stone images, which gives this spot a particularly eerie vibe. It's very easy to overdose on temple visits in Kyoto, but Arashiyama Nembutsuji is unlike anything else you'll see and easily worth the walk. After a morning exploring any of these hidden gems, you'll no doubt have worked up an appetite, so head back into the city centre to the crossing of Teramachi and Sanjo. Nearby you'll find this superb Art Deco building that dates back to 1928. But what we want is down in the basement, because if you want a cafe recommendation, just head into Independence here, which I always find offers a really solid lunch menu. This time I opted for the karaage plate, which came with this enormous salad portion, so I was surprisingly full afterwards. Yes, it's not the kind of Kyoto restaurant you'd expect, but I've been coming here for over 10 years, which means you can depend on the food being superb. The atmosphere is always very chilled out, and the service, it's great, and yes, there's an English menu. At night they host live music events, so check out their website and see if there's anything on, as this is also a great place after hours. We need to head south now back to Kyoto Station for the next sorely underrated spot. Take a ride up the escalators for a few minutes and you'll hit a grand staircase. But make sure you come here in the late afternoon or evening, because you'll want to catch it when it's illuminated. No, this isn't a projection. There's clearly some LED trickery going on here, but the designs and messages vary throughout the year. Admire the show from up close, enjoy it from afar, but come and see it before you catch your train, as I don't know anywhere quite like this in the rest of Japan. For the next spot, we have to take a train south. If you catch a fast one, it'll only take 16 minutes, but trust me, this is going to be worth it. We're off to possibly the most underrated area of Kyoto, Uji. Like Arashiyama, it's got mountains, the river, the bridge, but not quite the same level of crowds, which is just fantastic because the World Heritage Site Byodo-in is here, and wow, somehow this temple manages to be stunning and understated at the same time. If you're wondering where you've seen this place before, just fish out a 10 yen coin and check the back of it, because yes, that's where you are. I recommend doing one whole circuit of the pond to admire the Phoenix Hall in the middle from lots of different angles before you start snapping photos, because there are some great hidden vantage points here. It's a wonderful spot during the autumn leaf season too, but because you need to take the train to get here, a lot of people, especially first timers, miss this place. Add an extra day to your trip if you have to, but whatever you do, come and visit. If you're in search of something utterly unique to do in Kyoto that isn't a shrine or temple, then might I suggest that you need to check out a flea market. This one is at Kitano Tenmangu Shrine and is absolutely sardined with handicrafts, used kimono, antiques, ceramics, ornaments, clothes, actually just about anything you can think of. The number number of stalls is pretty overwhelming, and you'll be sure to find some extraordinary souvenirs here. Of course, there's a mandatory set of food stalls in case you get hungry as you shop or browse, and it also continues into the evening, which brings a whole different atmosphere. Going to a flea market is one of the easiest and most interesting ways of seeing everyday life and meeting locals, especially when you're haggling over the price of a kimono. The flea market here happens on the 25th of every month, although there are several others held at different venues in the city. If you're getting value out of this video, don't forget to drop me a like, and then get back to number 2 on this list, which, just like with Eikando at the very start of the video, is a great place which holds onto an authentic Kyoto vibe. It's Shimogamo Shrine. Now, it doesn't feel too touristy, but to me it also doesn't feel like it's in Kyoto at all. Perhaps it's the vast approach path with the enormous tree canopy that seems to go on forever, or maybe it's the 2 streams running through that give me the idea that I'm in a remote part of the countryside. Now, at the main gate is where you'll want to get your selfie in, but then go and enjoy one of my favourites from Kyoto's World Heritage Collection. Shimogamo is one of the oldest Shinto shrines in Japan, and the site dates back all the way to the 7th century. It's a stellar example of Heian architecture, so if you're pressed for time or you only want to visit the very best of the best in Kyoto, just come here, because it really doesn't disappoint. And after you leave Shimogamo Shrine, don't miss the chance to wander along the river on the way back into the city. The further north you get in Kyoto, the more scenic the riverside gets. And this brings us to the 0.5 of this list, Kamigamo Delta. The park on this pointy bit of land where the rivers Kamo and Takane meet is a popular hangout for locals and gives you a superb vantage point of all the comings and goings. It's great for people watching, checking out the wildlife, or hopping across this set of stepping stones. Now, if you've seen my previous video on Kyoto's hidden gems, you'll know that there's another river crossing like this downstream, but don't worry, this one is different. Fans of anime might recognize the wonderful turtle-shaped stones swimming against the current here, and the path crosses both rivers just before they converge, so double the fun. Now, as far as underrated spots in Kyoto go, I think there's only one winner, and this takes the cake by a light year and a half. This isn't so much a hidden gem as a hidden treasure chest. The Zen temple complex of Daitokuji is utterly expansive and immerses you in another world of temples within temples, exquisite stone pathways, and immaculate gardens. Although there are over 20 sub-temples here, only 4 have regular opening hours, while some of the others have temporary opening arrangements at different times of the year. But don't let that put you off. Part of the fun is peering through into the closed temples, wondering what's inside. Now, even without entering any of the temple premises, it's easy to spend hours here just wandering the streets of this walled off complex, exploring all the streets and pathways and alleyways and absorbing the magical, otherworldly atmosphere. It really feels like a hidden city. It's that big. When I was here, I chose to visit Korin-in Temple, which has one of the more understated Zen gardens with a simple elegance. Just like Tenjuen earlier, you can sit on the wooden edge of the building to drink in the scene, and while this isn't known as a moss garden or a hotspot for autumn colours, this place delivers both in spades. If you're hunting for that Kyoto feeling without billions and billions of other tourists, Daitokuji has it all in bucket loads. But if you think these are enough hidden gems for your trip, think again, because in this video up here, I've got my 10.5 favourite spots that you can enjoy without the crowds.